Is it possible that Rimuru could have probably beaten Hinata during their first fight right before he turned into a true demon lord? I have seen this argument happen on and on and on for the past couple of years, especially now that we just recently saw the rematch between the two in the latest season of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. But the question still remains, could Rimuru have potentially defeated Hinata if they had fought full out during their first battle? Now obviously we know we're never going to see this just because the main character is never going to die during the first season, but me personally, I have doubts that Rimuru could have actually been able to beat Hinata during that first battle. And let me explain real quick before you guys get a little bit rattled. I do understand that Rimuru right now is massively overpowered, especially because of the fact that he is regarded as one of, if not the strongest character in all of anime. Actually, let me take that back. He is definitely not the strongest in all of anime, but he definitely beats Goku. Now, I'm definitely going to talk about everything that I think, or at least the reasons why I believe that Rimuru would have lost this battle against Hinata, and I'm going to talk about by comparing their powers and everything that they are both capable of. Again, I want to make sure that we preface this. This is Rimuru before he becomes a true demon lord, because that is when they had their first battle. Rimuru only became a true demon lord after everything that happened in Tempest because of Shion's death. If it wasn't for that, he never would have actually become a true demon lord, and we know this because of stuff that happens later on in the light novel, but I'm not going to be addressing any of that in this video. Now, let's go ahead and get about exactly the reasons why Rimuru probably wouldn't have beat Hinata if they were to have a fight going full out during their first interaction. First off, Rimuru never had an ultimate skill at this point. Most of the powers that he had, even though they were massively powerful, they were nothing more than unique skill. The main one being Great Sage, which is the digression before what happens to Raphael, and that gave him thought acceleration, analytical appraisal, chant annulment, so he didn't obviously have to chant anything, he could just activate his skills. All of creation, which allows him to comprehend anything that he has a basic understanding of. And analysis, which allows him to basically comprehend everything to the full extent after he absorbs it. Then he also had the unique skill Gluttony, which is another one of his most prominent skills, used to absorb anything in sight, including the soul of his targets. Now obviously let's not gloss over the fact that Rimuru has basically resistances and it's immune to mostly everything like poison, lightning, temperatures, anything like has to do with physical attacks because of the fact that his body is a slime, magical attacks, pain nullification, basically anything and everything that you can think of, he has some sort of resistance or immunity to it. The biggest thing in that I see in a lot of forums like Reddit or Twitter or anything when people are arguing about this, the biggest thing that I keep seeing is that people keep saying that Rimuru could have probably used Uriel and block anything and everything that Hinata had, but at this point in time, he did not have Uriel. He did have unlimited imprisonment, which is something that evolved into the ultimate skill Uriel later on, but at this point in time during their first interaction, he did not have it. Which again, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate, Rimuru was incredibly strong, but this was all prior to him becoming a true demon lord. So let's talk about everything that Hinata had in her arsenal that could probably help her beat Rimuru at this time. She had a unique skill called Mathematician, which is essentially Great Sage but diluted, because it gives her analytical appraisal, analyzes her target, and reads everything including body composition, magicules, anything of that sort. Hinata 100% beats Rimuru in a sword fight at this point in time, just because she is way better trained and has a lot more experience than Rimuru had. Even though he was definitely trained under Hakuro and he was good as a swordsman, he was not as good as Hinata as he was at this point in time during their first interaction. Hinata also has Phantom Pain, which destroys the spiritual body of anything it touches after 7 consecutive hits. She had Holy Armament, which makes her a complete saint and enhances her magic. Now, for those of you that don't know what a complete saint is, it basically upgrades their body and matches their mental composition to awaken to the point that they are essentially entirely a spiritual being. They're free from human limitations such as needing air, having to drink, or eat any food. She also has the Moonlight Sword, which is imbued and rewrites the laws of the world because of a specific wavelength that it releases, which in essence causes injuries that are not even able to be regenerated, which is Rimuru's biggest thing because he is a slime. So because of this sword, he wouldn't be able to regenerate any cut that he receives from Hinata. And even allows her to break through a multi-layer barrier, which was the only thing that Rimuru had at the time until he evolved into a true demon lord. She also still has Melt Slash, which if you guys saw in the most recent fight that they had, it imbues Disintegration, which is a massively strong skill that completely eviscerates even Spiritrons into her sword and launches at near light speed, which was powerful enough to be able to hurt Veldora. The only reason that Rimuru was actually able to evade it or survive it was because of Raphael, and he didn't have it at the time of the first fight. But let me say this again, it was able to even hurt Veldora, which is a true dragon. It can easily hurt Rimuru being a slime. But now the most important reason why Hinata would probably win this fight if they were to go all out during their first encounter was her unique skill Usurper, which we just found out in the most recent season of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Now for those of you that don't know, what unique skill Usurper does is that it can steal the skills from the enemy, it can also copy them, and even includes the arts of the opponent that Hinata is fighting at the time. But here's the thing about the unique skill Usurper, it only works on opponents that are stronger than Hinata. The second fight that Hinata and Rimuru had, he was actually that much stronger than her that her unique skill Usurper was completely blocked and she wasn't able to use it. As I already mentioned, we cannot ignore the fact that Hinata also had Melt Slash, but all of that is besides the point. Fact of the matter is, during their first encounter, Rimuru was much weaker than he actually is as a true Demon Lord, because when he evolved, he got massively power-ups with regards to ultimate skills, more skills that happened because of his subordinates, and just everything that came up with being as powerful as a true Demon Lord, not to mention the fact that his magic skills increased exponentially. While Hinata, she was essentially just as strong as she was during their first battle that she was during the second one. The only difference was during the second one, Rimuru actually had the ultimate skill to back him up to the power so that Hinata couldn't use Usurper against him, but he actually was able to develop future predictions, which is one of the biggest things he was able to keep up with Hinata. If it wasn't for that, she would have actually been able to outsource him as well.